If you like to bass fish, you're going to love this week's episode. Look at all this stuff. Matted hydrilla, floating water hyacinth, all kinds of swampy looking stuff out here. Every place you look looks like a place a bass ought to live. We're taking you to a place that's loaded with them today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad you're with us. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hey everyone, we're coming to you today from a location that is loaded up with big old alligators and slithering snakes and critters of all kinds running around back in these woods and marshes. This is a great location because it's also loaded with big mouth bass. We're going largemouth bass fishing on this week's episode at a location we've never been to, and I'd like to welcome you in right now just north of the Florida-Georgia border to Lake Seminole. It's 38,000 acres of all kinds of good fishing. We're going to concentrate on the bass today with the help of a few guide buddies of mine. We're going to be taking the Nitro Z20 out on the water today and do some scouting around. Hopefully catch a few bass and show you some information in case you'd like to come here and make a trip of your very own and catch some. And while we're doing that, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters. Right now, we get things started back at the FSN Studios in your weekend planner.
The Salooner tables are predicting terrific game fish activities for both days this weekend. Saturday's action is forecast as excellent, with the best times beginning at 2:48 a.m. and 3:18 p.m., while Sunday's conditions are listed as good. Expect the sun to rise at 6:29 and set at 8:36. And we just had a new moon, so evenings will be mostly void of moonlight. Stay with us. We've got fishing reports from across the area on the way. Plus, I'll return with this week's Ask the Pro feature. Back in a bit.
We've got the boat launch now, and if you're coming to Lake Seminole, one of the things you should do is just a little side trip is take a little jaunt through the connector canal that connects Spring Creek and the Flint River. We'll head to a quick commercial break before we start fishing, and we'll leave you with a little bit of sight and sound of the little connector canal between the river and the creek.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lew's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland. We know bass and crappie from heads to tails. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Plan your fishing vacation and catch the details at orangebeach.com/fishing. And by Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades.
Thank you, buddy. There's a long, skinny old male bass right there. There's a fish. Down in grass, there he comes up. There he comes in that clear water. He's a fish, there's a start. All right, we've made it out on Seminole. Thank you, buddy. There's a long, skinny old male bass right there. Swimming around out there on a sandy spot. That fish needs to go eat something, but a lot of fun to catch. Hey, welcome back everybody. There he goes. The entire floor of this lake is lined with hydrilla or grass. So the whole bottom is green, but there will be some white sandy spots. There'll be hard bottoms, and bass do like a hard bottom. They like it to feed on. They like to get on the edge of where that sand meets the grass to ambush prey. See this flat we're in? This whole flat's 3 to 5 feet deep. A few scattered stumps out here, a lot of grass, vegetation of all kinds. This whole thing will be matted up all through the summertime. That hydrilla grows all the way to the surface. So you've got to really switch tactics. If you're coming here in the really warm weather months, you've got to flip and pitch the edges of the hydrilla beds. It's some of the most fun fishing you can do because you can catch them on a frog, like a Strike King popping perch.
Hi folks, this week's Lone Star Lakes is brought to you once again by Fiberworks Marine Collision. They'll get you back on the water, good as new, as fast as they can, and do it at a cost you can afford. Now we're going to start with Lake Livingston this week, where boat docks are the key to bass fishing. You'll want to find docks that either have a channel or some brush or even some laydowns nearby. Start them by skipping, or of course you can use topwaters early in the morning. If you're skipping a bait, use a lighter bait on a spinning rod. It'll get further under that dock. Don't forget about square bill crankbaits. They're killing them on docks with square bills right now at Livingston. Use your blue chartreuse or fire tiger colors, or on a really sunny day, try a shad colored crankbait. Now over at Lake Conroe, the catfish are on fire. You'll want to look for a couple of keys out there on the water. First of all, you need a channel near timber, and you're looking at about 12 to 22 feet. You'll want to bait your area lightly ahead of time with either range cubes or soured grain. Don't put out too much bait. Then go back about an hour later and fish with your standard catfish fare, and you'll catch plenty of finned fish on Lake Conroe. That's been this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Fiberworks Marine Collision.
Hey folks, Captain Greg Verm here with this week's Fox Southwest Outdoors Report. Hey, the rain's keeping us at the docks today, but the weather has been good here along the upper Texas Gulf Coast. Over in North and South Sabine, the trout bite has been good on live shrimp under a popping cork. They're on their typical summer patterns over there, with the redfish following the shad in North Sabine. Throw your topwaters early, then swap to plastics and 1/4 ounce lead heads. Find the shad and the redfish aren't far. South Sabine jetties have been good for specks, sheephead, drum, and redfish. Also, wade fishing the surf when the winds are light and the water clarity is good. Over in Galveston, the flounder gigging has improved. Finally, light winds have made conditions favorable, and plenty of flounder are being seen at night. Here in Freeport, we're in full swing offshore. Giant snapper, solid mahi, and cobia are being caught. Live baits are catching our bigger snapper, but don't count out sardines or cigar minnows when the live bait can't be found. The marshes and harbor of Freeport are holding solid slot reds and mangrove snapper. The harbor is holding the mangroves. Remember, if you want to fish Galveston or Freeport areas, we offer inshore, offshore, flounder gigging, and have lodging here at Bay's Landing. Hey, call the number on your screen, check out the website. I'm Captain Greg Verm. I'll see you next time.
That one hit my trick worm again. Boy, that's another long and skinny bass. Right on the edge of lily pads where it goes to hydrilla, just a little bit of a change. And a fish bit, right on cue. Look at that. Right where he's been reading all the fishing magazines and watching the TV shows, and he's learned where he's supposed to be. So that's a cool little lesson for you. Hi everybody, we are at beautiful Lake Seminole. And this place, it can be overwhelming. There can be so much stuff to fish that you really don't know where to fish. And so you really need a guide. I'm going to give you all the guide contact information a little bit later. They've got a great website and a great organization with 2 or 3 really good guides on this lake. But what I'm trying to key on are places too where the types of vegetation change. We talked about the hydrilla, the coontail, the hyacinth, the lily pads, the reeds. So that spot was a little high spot where some lily pads were growing, and you can see them kind of scattered right through here, but then they end and hydrilla starts growing. So if you can find those edges of where that hydrilla is, flip and pitch along the edge of those, plastic baits work real well. That one ate my little tattletale worm off my bare hook. But find those places where the vegetation changes and you've got a great chance of catching some bass.
Hey friends, Cajun Phil here with your Fox Sports Southwest Louisiana Fishery Report. I tell you what, Captain Kevin is going to do the report this week, but he's off in Florida right now at the ICAST show, tying down some of our sponsors for next year. I tell you what, as far as the fishing goes though, Captain Preston, Captain Carlos, they've been out there each and every day. They're doing very good, catching speckled trout and redfish. I tell you what, when it's calm, they go offshore, catch a few bigger trout offshore, and maybe a triple tail or two. Also, here closer to home, we did get a lot of rain earlier in the week, but it had messed up the rivers too bad. Calcasieu River still producing good bass. Sabine River's producing good bass. Also got a good report from the Atchafalaya Basin this week. Water finally dropped over there. Tell you what, it was moving out, had a good current. They were catching good bass on a crankbait. As far as the eastern part of the state, yeah, Bill Lake's catching redfish and speckled trout in Houma. And Captain Brett Ardiz is doing good. He's fishing a little close in rigs for the speckled trout, but he said closer in, the captains that are staying in the marsh, they're catching good big sized redfish. I tell you what, you might want to make a trip, contact Old Cajun Phil, 337-540-5530. Like we always say, come and get you some. It's good right now.
Got it. He's got it. Got him. A little bit better fish. Come out from under that boat. There we go. That one hit my trick worm again. Boy, that's another long and skinny bass. You can tell the spawn is long since over with. No eggs, although that would probably be a female. There's my trick worm, and I want to show you something there. That's what I'm fishing. That's how I'm catching these fish. And I want to show you a little quick demonstration on how I'm working it. If you've never fished a trick worm before, it's a really tantalizing way to catch a bass. And the way I fish it is cast it out there, and you want to position yourself where you can cast downwind, because you have either very little or no weight on it. Because you do, you can't have a crosswind. Once you get it out there, let it settle on a slack line for about 6 or 8 seconds. You want to fish this with your rod tip up at about the 11 o'clock position, like mine is now. Hop, hop, hop. Take up that slack. Feel it on the way down. They get it on the way down when it's falling. Take up that slack. Hop, hop, hop. And then what you want to do is you want to fish it on what I call a tight slack line. You want some slack in it, but you want it to be bowed. And the strike will be one of two things. Either like that one where your line literally just starts swimming off sideways. You don't feel a thing. You've just got tension on your line going sideways. Or as it's fluttering back and falling, they'll pop it and you'll see your line jump. Just a little snap of that bow in your line.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide's new wireless and easy-to-use XI3. XI batteries powering the world forward. Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. And Strike King, designed by the pros, fished by you.
Oh, nice jump, fella. Yeah, pretty nice fish. There he is. Right in that grass. There we go. Well, I'll tell you, the action has been steady. This lake is an interesting combination of both numbers and quality. Now, there's nothing wrong with that bass as far as quality. That's just a stout, solid bass. But they have big ones in here, and our guides, Matt and Paul and Nick, actually, with LakeSeminoleFishingGuides.com, stay on top of these fish, and they catch big ones. These fish do run into the double digits. There are regular 10+ pound bass that get caught out of here, and I think the lake record is 15-ish, somewhere in that range. But I was talking to one of the guides yesterday, and he said that pretty much everybody that fishes this lake regularly has caught at least one double-digit bass.
Hey, at most of our deep clearwater lakes here in the hot part of summer, you can go deep to catch a nice mixed bag of largemouth, spotted bass, and smallmouth using a technique called drop shotting. Fun technique, very effective for fishing deep water, 20 to 40 feet and more. And here are some tips from one of the very best anglers in the country at the technique, Jacob Wheeler.
So it's really simple using the tattletale on a drop shot. You have to use a little bit bigger hook. This is a 6 size, actually 2 Nico hook. You have a little bit fatter worm, so you want to make sure you have that. I'm gonna actually face him that flat side down, hook him up, and you're good to go. And that way, that worm's really dancing. When I'm gonna have the resistance, because that's gonna really give it more resistance. It's not gonna be a streamline, have more resistance. And I'm gonna shake it. I'll pitch it out there, and it's gonna fall down there and just shake. As it's falling, that tail's gonna wiggle, stops, it's gonna come up, shake it a couple times. They can't stand that thing. That's the deal. But definitely throw a little bit heavier weight too, 3/8, half ounce, especially when you're fishing deep. Being able to get that bait down there fast, a lot of times it's a reaction from smallmouth, and that bait, already drags a little bit in wacky style, so you need a little bit heavier weight to get those fish to react.
Jacob says you can catch them on a drop shot right now in Oklahoma, but you can't catch them if you don't go.
There's one. Oh, nice jump, fella. And a pretty nice fish. Hey, boy, these fish fight hard now. It's still not done. There we go. All right, there's another good one right there. On my little wacky rig right there. I tell you, I don't fish a trick worm very often, but it's really paid off today. And here we go. Let go of my glove. There we go. If you're coming here, by the way, I want to mention something. I was out yesterday doing a little scouting around, and I want to show you just a couple of quick clips. The first one is a fish I caught right in the lily pad. So if you really like pad fishing, if you like fishing a topwater frog, or flipping around pads, or even a spinnerbait or something like that, this is your place. So there's a lot of lily pads here, and you see right behind me where I catch this fish here. And then there's this stuff called peppergrass, and then there's hydrilla. And I caught one fish right out of the hydrilla. In fact, the fish kind of balled up in the hydrilla, and I got a pretty good mat of it there. The later in the year it gets, the thicker the hydrilla gets, and at the peak in the middle of the summer, miles and miles and miles of nothing but hydrilla mats growing all the way to the surface here. And we're gonna go to a flipping type of a jig, like a Strike King Greg Hackney Hack Attack jig would be a perfect one. About a 3/4 ounce, they'll punch through that grass.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes by clicking the archive button and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and follow button on Twitter. And watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free Waypoint TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. And Lowrance and the new Hook 2, the world's easiest fish finder.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Ask the Pro question. This week, William asks, is there anything I can do to reduce wind knots on my spinning rod and reel? For the answer, we asked Joey Farah of Backwater Fishing Adventures while he was helping on one of our recent Fox Sports Outdoors shoots.
One thing that we do have a lot of problems with in these high wind situations here in South Texas is wind knots. And one of the most important things is to keep your line tight to the reel in this area here close to your hand. One of the biggest problems I see is anglers engaging the bail with the handle instead of switching it over with their hand. So on a cast, I'll make a long cast, and as it hits the water, I'll close that and extend my finger to keep that line tight on the spool. And that keeps you from getting those wind knots deep into the spool.
Thanks, Joey. If you have a question for one of the pros, visit our website, click on the Ask the Pro link, and send it in. Now, stay with us to see the latest Big Catch of the Week winner.
Every week at this time, someone gets their big fish photo right here on the show with the Big Catch of the Week contest. I'll tell you how to enter in just a moment, but first, this week's winner. He's Eddie Moy of Spring, Texas, with not one, but two 2-pound crappie he caught at Toledo Bend Reservoir. And here are some other bonus fish from Toledo Bend. Here's Drew Schiabarassi with an 11-pound bass, Levi James with a 10-pounder, Jamie Farmer caught an 8-pounder, Ron Heron with an 8-pounder, and Marcus Estrada with a 4-pounder. These aren't the winners, but they are great fish from Toledo nonetheless. If you would like to be our next winner, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, click in the Big Catch of the Week area on the right side of the homepage and follow the instructions. You could get your 15 seconds of fame with your big fish. Next up, here's some gear that you'll need if you're coming here to Lake Seminole to catch some of their great bass. It begins with fluorocarbon line. You need fluorocarbon here, number one, for the strength and all that grass. Number two, some of this water is really clear and fluorocarbon is next to invisible. Now the rod and reel I used were the Team Lew's Custom Pro Speed Stick rod and the Team Lew's Hyper Mag reel. This is a great setup for fishing all of these various plastic baits that we caught the bass on today. You do need to set this reel up properly. I've got a demo video on our how-to page on our website that explains how to properly set this up for casting light baits or any other baits. Go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, click on the how-to section and look for the Team Lew's Hyper Mag setup instructions. Now as far as the baits go, it begins with the little trick worm setup I was using, the Wacky Rig. It's a little small hook with a weight on the head, a very light weight, and then you stick that Gene LaRue tattletale worm right through the middle, and that is the Wacky setup that I used a lot today. Other baits that worked here: Gene LaRue salt flicker, salt plastic jerk bait rigged with no weight. Just rigged it on about a 4/0 offset worm hook, and that worked well. You also need a Texas rig for flipping and pitching around some of this grass. And here are a couple of other baits you need to have handy if you come here around all this grass. A Strike King spinnerbait like you see the one there, and the Strike King Pop and Perch. If you want to do some of that heart-stopping topwater action across the tops of some of these lily pads and grass beds, that bait will work well. Today I'd like to pass along a little quote from a good buddy of mine, Doc Geiger, who lives in Oklahoma, used to be one of our reporters here on the show and still a very good friend. He sends out a little message each day via email. He says, "Each day is presented to us fresh and clean at midnight, free of charge. But we must be aware, today is a non-renewable resource. Once it's gone forever. We live way too fast. We speed through life like we're fast forwarding through commercials. We try to live several days at one time, not just one. It's time to stop, live moment by moment, and see what's around us, and choose to enjoy the good things, the blessings we're presented with. It's time to pause, take a deep breath, look and listen, and see what today, just today, might bring." Hey, thanks for spending your half hour with us here from Lake Seminole on the Georgia-Florida border near Bainbridge, Georgia. It's a beautiful and an excellent fishing lake. I think you would enjoy a trip here. Here's the guide information if you'd like to book your very own fishing trip to catch some of the bass like we did today. Also, don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter. We put up brand new videos and lots of good fishing information every day. Like us on Facebook, follow us on our Twitter feed. We'll see you right back here next week. Until then, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.